Okay, it's week 7, our last week of online instruction. We're looking at lesson 18.1, measure time intervals, which is another way of saying we're going to be looking at elapsed time. We did a little bit of that last week. This is activity number 1 on your plan. We're starting on page 565. Ava and her family visited Space Center Houston. They watched a movie that began at 4:10 and ended at 4:53 p.m. How long did the movie last? To find elapsed time, find the amount of time that passes from the start of an activity to the end of the activity. So the movie began at 4:10 and the movie ended at 4:53, and we want to know how much time is there between 4:10 and 4:53. So we're going to look at one way. Like we've learned this year, there are sometimes several ways that we can find the answer to a question in math. One strategy we can use is to use a number line. Find the time on the number line that the movie began. Count on to the ending time, 4:53. Count by tens for each 10 minutes. Count by ones for each minute. Write the times on the number line. And step 3, draw the jumps on the number line to show the minutes from 4:10 to 4:53. Record the minutes. So here is how we're going to use a number line to find the elapsed time. So you see on the number line, try to get this on the screen a little better. There we go. On the number line, they put 4:10 right here at the beginning, and then they jumped 10 minutes from 4:10 would be 4:20, and then if we added another 10 minutes, 4:20, 10 more minutes would be 4:30, and we can add another 10 minutes, 4:40. And we're trying to get to 4:53. We can still add another 10 minutes from 40 to get to 50, 4:50. Now I can't add another 10 minutes because that would be 5 o'clock and that's too far. So now we're just going to count by ones. 1 minute will be 4:51, then 4:52, then 4:53. Oops, 1 minute, 1 minute. So now we're going to add up how many minutes we jumped here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43. The elapsed time from 4:10 to 4:53 is 43 minutes. The movie lasted 43 minutes. And sometimes people do this and they can just kind of do it in their head. Say 4:10, 4:20, 4:30, 4:40, 4:50. That's 40 minutes. And then 51, 52, 53. 3 more minutes, 43 minutes. But this is kind of a process that we can use using the number line. Okay. Let's look at other ways. Still the same problem. Start time 4:10, end time 4:53. Another way is using a clock. So if you have one, or if we have a picture of one, if we were in the classroom, we would have those little yellow clocks that you've used before. We can put the starting time of 4:10 on the clock. See, this is 4. This is my short hour hand. Always remember the word hour is shorter than the word minute. So we remember short hour hand, long minute hand. The hour is 4 because it hasn't made it to 5 o'clock yet. And then 5, 10. 10 minutes after. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes after 4. 4:10. And then we can count the minutes going around the clock until we get to 4:53. And you see they've colored in blue. There's 50, 51, 52, 53 right there. How far we're going to go. So we can count and pretend we're moving that hand. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and then we count the little, each little mark is a minute. 41, and another minute, 42, and then one more minute, 43. So we can count that going around the clock. Or another way is to use subtraction, and to me this is the easiest way, but there is a little trick to this. The 2 times that you have to have the same number in the hour spot, because if they're different, then this strategy won't work. But because these are both 4, they're both the same, then we can do this. So step 1 is write the ending time. Ending time was 4:53. Then write the starting time so that the hours and minutes lined up. So the start time is 4:10. And since the hour is the same, we're really just looking how many minutes are in between the 53-minute mark and the 10-minute mark. We're just finding the difference. 3 minus 0 is 3, and 5 minus 1 is 4. 43 minutes. That's our elapsed time. Okay, so now on question 1 in the share and show, we're going to use the number line strategy to find the elapsed time between 1:15 and 1:40. So here's 1:15. If I add 10 minutes, that would be 1. 15 plus 10 more would be 25. Remember, I'm going to 1:40. Add 10 more minutes and have 1:35. Now I can't add 10 more minutes because that would be 45, and that's too far. So if I'm at 35, I need to go 36, 37, 38, ran out of space, 39, and 40. Or you might have just said, well, from 35 to 40 is 5 minutes. I could have just done a 5-minute jump. So that's 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. It's 25 minutes. Now, notice they both have a 1 in the hour, so I can use that subtraction strategy. I'm going to do that one as well, since they don't have that as one of our ways to solve the problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and come up here and write 1:40 minus 1:15. I just know the bigger number has to be on top, so 40 has to be on top of 15. And if we regroup here, 3 minus 1 is 2. We also get 25 minutes that way. Remember, it has to have the same number in the hour. All right, let's look at start time of 11:35, end time of 11:54. So they drew the line for me, but if you were trying to work this out somewhere on your own, you could just draw a line. And start goes on the left, because we know with number lines that we're getting bigger as we go this way. So this is where we start, 11:35, and I'm working my way on down the number line to 11:54. So we can go by 10 minutes here. 10 minutes more would be 11:45. Let's see, if I add 10 more, that'll be 55, and that'll be too much. But I could add 5 minutes. Let's just add 5 this time and go 150, because 45 plus 5 more is 50. And then I need to go from 50 to 54, and well, I know that's just 4 minutes, so let's just do that. 1:54. So that is 10 plus 5 more is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 minutes. I wrote 1 instead of 11. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we can, since we have the same number in the hour spot, I can just use subtraction. So I'm going to come down here and do that as well. 11:54 minus 11:35, and can't do 4 minus 5. So I'll go next door, get 10 more. And we end up with 19 minutes. Okay. Try to fix my camera a bit here. Right now they're giving us a picture of a clock, and the start time is 4:20, and we see that on the clock they have 4, and there's 20, and they want us to go to the end of 5 o'clock. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm moving my minute hand, and to get to 5 o'clock it would have to go all the way around to get up to the 12 to o'clock. So we're going to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. That's 40 minutes. Now you can't use subtraction on this one exactly because we can't do 0 minus 20, or if you did 20 minus 0, well, that'd be 20 minutes, and we just figured out that it's 40 minutes. So you see how that one doesn't really work here. Now you could think to yourself that when we're at the o'clock at the top, that's like 60 also. But that's a little confusing. Now if you did 60 minus 20, that would be 40 there, but that's a little tougher. It doesn't work quite as well. It just doesn't really work if the hours are not the same. Okay, last page for today. Let's look at page 567 in our word problems here. Number 4 says, Connor started reading his book about outer space at 9:15 in the morning. He read until 9:45 in the morning. How long did Connor read his book? First, we better know what these times are. A 9:15. If you think about the clock, so a clock, and if you cut it into quarters, into 4 parts here, like this. Quarters means 4 parts, and if we went 1/4 of the way around the clock, that's 15 minutes. So a 9:15 is 9:15. That's going to be our start time. And then he read until 9:45. And a 9:45 means that it's not 10 o'clock yet. Here is the quarter until we get to 10. This is quarter after, half past, and a quarter till the next hour, because we have 1/4 of the way to get to 10 o'clock. So this is the 45-minute mark. So a 9:45 is 9:45, because that's 15 minutes until 10 o'clock. So we want to know how many minutes, how long Connor read his book from 9:15 to 9:45. So I can either do a number line, 9:15, 10 minutes more would be 9:25, 10 more would be 9:35, 10 more would be 9:45, 10, 20, 30 minutes. It also works because they both have a 9 right here to do 9:45 minus 9:15. And we also get 30 minutes. Okay, let's look at number 5. Aiden arrived at the rocket display at 3:35 p.m. and left at 3:49 p.m. Ava arrived at the rocket display at 3:30 p.m. and left at 3:56 p.m. Ava spent how many more minutes at the rocket display than Aiden? So we have to find two elapsed times here and see how much more time this is than this. So for this problem, since we have so much going on, I'm going to use kind of the easier strategy since we have 3 o'clock in both times here. And I want to know the difference between 49 and 35. All right, Aiden, his end time was 3:49. His start time was 3:35. And so he spent 14 minutes. There's 14 minutes in between 35 and 49 on the clock. And Ava, both of her times are in the 3 o'clock hour, so we can use that same strategy. So we have to put the larger one on top, 3:56 minus 3:30. I'm just finding how many minutes between the 30-minute mark and the 56-minute mark. How many minutes are in between? When we subtract to find the difference. So 6 minus 0 is 6. 5 minus 3 is 2. So Aiden spent 14 minutes. Ava spent 26 minutes. But our question is, Ava spent how many more minutes than Aiden at the rocket display? So I want to know how much bigger is 26 than 14. So I have to do one more step. She had 26 minutes. He only spent 14 minutes, and we want to find how much bigger that is. So we subtract to find out the difference between those two numbers. We're not finding how many minutes they spent all together. That would be adding. We're finding how much bigger this number is than that one, so we subtract. It's a comparing question. 2 minus 1 is 1. So Ava spent 12 more minutes than Aiden. That's a tough one. Okay, number 6. At the Space Center, Hannah bought a model of a lunar rover. She started working on the model the next day at 11:13 a.m. She worked until leaving for lunch at 11:51 a.m. After lunch, she worked on the model again from 1:29 p.m. until 1:48 p.m. How long did Hannah work on the model? So the first time she worked on the model, she worked from 11:13 to 11:51. That's the start time and that's her end time for the first time she was working. And both of these have 11 in the hour. So we can find how many minutes that is by subtracting these two. It only works if the hour is the same. So we're going to do 11:51 minus 11:13. 1 minus 3, can't do that. Go next door. 11 minus 3 is 8. 4 minus 1 is 3. So she spent 38 minutes the first time she worked on the model, and then after lunch she worked from 1:29 until 1:48. Again, both of these times have a 1 in the hour, so we're just looking to see how many minutes from the 29-minute mark until the 48-minute mark in the 1 o'clock hour. So since they're both 1, we can just subtract. 1:48 minus 1:29. Have to put the larger number on top. 48 minus 29. So, to go next door again. 18 minus 9 is 9. 3 minus 2 is 1. But we want to know how long she worked on the model altogether. So the first time she worked 38 minutes. The second time she worked 19 minutes. So we have to combine those two times. And when we're combining, we add 38 minutes plus 19 minutes. 8 plus 9 is 17. 3, 4, 5. 57 minutes. Hannah worked for 57 minutes total. And our last question. Aiden's family took the NASA tram tour from 2:05 to 2:45 p.m. Explain how you know that the tour was more than 30 minutes. Well, I guess we could find out exactly how long it is between those two times and see if it's more than 30 minutes. They both have a 2 in the hour, so that makes it easy. We can just use 2:45 minus 2:05. The tour was 40 minutes long, so we know it's more than 30 minutes long. You could also think to yourself, well, if it started at 2:05 and it only went for 30 minutes, that would be 2:35, and 2:45 is longer than that. So since we're explaining, let's write the tour was 40 minutes. And we know that by our work over here. All right, I'll see y'all next time.